Good morning to everyone here on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Welcome to Signature Automation. What is it and how does it benefit your ECM lifecycle? I'm Katie Burke, the Government Program Strategist at Laserfiche, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Mauricio Pinto, Director of State and Local Government at Cosigned by ARX. Cosigned by ARX is a digital signature vendor and a wonderful Laserfiche partner. We're thrilled to have them offer their perspective on the fundamentals and implementation of signature automation. Before we begin, there are a few housekeeping items that I'd like to cover. First, I've muted all of you to ensure that there's minimal background noise. We've allocated some time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. Feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A pane on the bottom right-hand panel as they pop up, but we will be answering the questions at the end. If you have any technical questions related to WebEx, feel free to type those into the chat pane in the middle portion of the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll go ahead and respond to those as soon as possible. So now that we've taken care of the logistics, let's go ahead and jump into the material. Today, we'll frame the conversation with an introduction to the rising trend of signature automation, then define what is signature automation. We'll cover the foundations of signature automation and show a demonstration, then wrap up with a customer use case. So what is signature automation? Well, simply defined, signature automation is the integration of digital signatures in your automated business processes in ECM. This creates a continuous, digital, and automated process. At Laserfiche, we've heard our customers asking about the benefits of signature automation and how it can help them achieve their process efficiency goals. In fact, we presented about digital signatures on a webinar last year, and it was so popular that many clients asked us to present on this topic again. So we brought Mauricio back by popular demand to share updates and go further in depth on the topic of signature automation. But even outside of our customer base, signature automation is quickly becoming a trending topic among government organizations across the board. Recently, I've read articles about the Circuit Court of Alexandria accepting the first digitally notarized property deed in government technology. I follow the digital signature hashtag on Twitter, and I've read analyst reports about the adoption of this technology. The original inspiration for this webinar actually came from an experience that I had that really illustrated just how strong the interest in signature automation is. I was at a conference and attending a class about standards for electronic content management. Digital signatures was not on the agenda, but about halfway through the presentation, a hand shot up asking, well, what are standards for digital signatures, and how does this work with my ECM? Shortly after, additional questions came popping up, like, are digital signatures safe? Who can sign digitally? Do they hold up in court? How do they work with my workflow? And before we knew it, the topic of conversation had strayed from the prepared slides and became a discussion about signature automation. Now, to me, the popularity of this topic begs the question, how can signature automation best be used in government, and why is everyone so interested? Well, to put a number to this trend, Gartner cited a 48% growth rate in e-signature adoption in a one-year time frame. According to Forrester, this adoption is fueled by the rapid evolution of consumer technology, the need to reduce transaction costs, the accessibility of tablets and mobile devices, and the continual push to improve customer experience. Well, as government administrators, you're familiar with the mantra, do more with less. This means that you have little time to chase papers, to ship documents, and to track down colleagues to sign off on an approval process. As evidenced by the 48% digital signature adoption growth rate, signature automation is helping many organizations free up time and gain efficiency with their document-driven approval processes. In this webinar, we'll share the foundations of signature automation and help you conceptualize ways to integrate digital signatures into your automated business processes. So just to make sure everyone is on the same page, what is a digital signature? Well, a digital signature is the way that we represent ourselves digitally. When we talk about signatures on paper, we talk about a unique way of representing our name. No two signatures look the same, but this doesn't work so well digitally. Images can be replicated. So for instance, we've all seen the same cat picture used over and over again on the internet. I can do the same thing with a wet or handwritten signature with a little practice and an artist's eye and a steady hand. The digital signature then needs to be unique. We need to be able to trust that when a digital signature is applied, the person in question is the one who actually applied it. There are different ways to do this, but that's the core ideology. Mauricio will cover cosign's approach in greater detail later on in this presentation. So now that we understand the first component of our digital signatures plus ECM equation, let's cover what ECM can do. According to AIM, the Global Community of Information Professionals, Enterprise Content Management, or ECM, can be defined as the strategies, methods, and tools delivered to capture, manage, store, preserve, and deliver content and documents related to organizational processes. To put it simply, ECM is a platform to manage your information throughout its entire life cycle, from the initial electronic capture of information through its processing and approvals to its eventual archival in a secure repository. ECM enables organizations to let their information work for them by making information available to the right people at the right time in the right place. Some of the goals our customers have for ECM are to improve information access by creating a central, secure repository that's available to relevant stakeholders, to automate critical document-driven processes using workflow automation, to connect disparate systems by using ECM as integrative middleware, creating a central place to store and retrieve information that originates from primary applications across the entire organization. But for the purposes of this webinar, let's focus on the second goal for ECM, automating critical document-driven processes. Here, I've listed some of the more popular processes that our customers automate with ECM. As you know, approvals and sign-off are a critical part of processing documents in many of these processes, such as HR onboarding, contract management, and permitting. Most often, after information capture and processing, an approval or sign-off is needed in order to continue the business process. When documents are printed for approvals and signing, the digital content flow is broken. Workflow automation is stopped, and resources are wasted. By integrating digital signatures into automated workflows in ECM, organizations are able to manage the process digitally from end to end, which ultimately reduces waste, ensures compliance, and secures the document. I think it's easiest to illustrate this connection with the example of an employee performance review. Now, just as a note, I chose this process because it's easy for everyone to understand. I think we've all done the performance review song and dance. But please bear in mind that the underlying actions in this example can be applied to a multitude of scenarios. So say my boss is watching this webinar and gets upset that I'm using cat photos in the presentation. Whoops. So next thing I know, she's scheduled a performance review to document my recent work. At Laserfiche, we keep our performance reviews digitally because then we all have access to them and we don't waste paper. I personally like working at Laserfiche, and I'd like to know what I have to do to stay here. So it helps to have something available to refer back to. Now in the meeting, my boss and I will create the documentation of how I'm doing, where I can improve, and goals for the future. After the document is completed, we both need to sign the paper to acknowledge that we have seen and agree with everything detailed in the form. If we use digital signatures to sign the document, it is assured that I am in fact Katie Burke and nothing has changed in the document since I saw it. Same goes for my boss. The signature will become invalid if something's been changed. So this means that evil Katie's alter ego can't delete sections of the document to ease my workload. That would cause the signature to become invalid. Similarly, my boss can't add in some lofty goals that haven't been covered. Again, the signature becomes invalid with any changes. This is even more secure than a handwritten document because I could theoretically sign the handwritten document and then someone could handwrite in additional requirements after, and I would never have known. And that, of course, does not fare well for me and my cat pictures. So after the document has been agreed upon and signed, Workflow is able to pick up the document, direct it to the records folder that stores all employee evaluations, creates a shortcut in my employee folder, and moves it along to the next step. This way, the appropriate retention policies are applied for our corporate records, and I have easy access to the information, and any appropriate parties, say maybe HR, is notified that a new employee performance review has been created, and they can take appropriate action and sign off as well if necessary. This entire review process is done digitally, securely, and automatically, ensuring that information is correct and available to all parties involved. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Mauricio, and he'll go more in depth on the foundations of signature automation. All right, go ahead and take it away, Mauricio.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. Hello, everybody. Before I get started on my section, I did want to say to the members of the audience that are not already using Laserfiche that it is a very excellent and user-friendly document and records management solution. If you're evaluating that type of solution, I do encourage you to at least consider it. I know how good it is because I spent several years at Laserfiche before I came over to ARX and the cosine solution. For my presentation, I want to start out by digging in a little further into some of the terms that Katie used. As she mentioned, signature automation refers to this new concept of incorporating electronic or digital signature with your document or content management system and with your workflow system. Whether you knew it or not, signature automation has always been the next step in your own evolution to paperless, depending on how prevalent or critical your signatures and your approval capture is to your own processes. It might be the last 10% of your journey to paperless. It might be the last 40%. But it is something you need to address, otherwise you simply can't go paperless. Electronic signatures we're going to look at in more detail in the concept of how does the law define it. But you want to think of it as the umbrella term that encapsulates any type of electronic signature, any type of attempt to link a signer with the signed information. So very high level, very umbrella terminology. It includes a lot of different types of technologies. Digital signature, on the other hand, is a very specific type of electronic signature. There are actually different definitions floating around. You'll see different vendors claiming different things about whether they offer a digital signature or not. So my recommendation is that you go straight to the definition per the National Institute of Standards and Technology, known as NIST. They publish what is called the Federal Information Publishing Standards, and the one that applies specifically to digital signatures, you see on the screen, it's FIPS 186-4. They define a digital signature as something that allows, a technology that allows the identity of the signer and the integrity of the signed data to be verified. So it's very simple. In addition, it goes on to define the components of a digital signature. There's a private key that you use to actually generate the digital signature. There's a public key that travels with the signed information and allows anyone to verify the signed information. And there's a certificate that is uniquely associated with the signer. Okay, this certificate must be issued by somebody that is trusted, and this becomes a key part of the solution during your due diligence review and your evaluation. The law basically refers to electronic signatures, the umbrella term. Okay, the applicable state law, which is UEDA, the applicable federal law, which is eSign, these are created to promote electronic commerce, and therefore they don't enforce any particular type of technology. You can use anything that is an electronic signature, and further, the law defines it very loosely. Sound, a symbol, a process, anything that associates the signer with the record you're trying to sign. But they do raise the concept of intent. And therefore, what that means for you, the good and the bad news, is that you can use any type of electronic signature, and it'll be considered legal. But it doesn't keep you from getting into trouble. Ultimately, to avoid problems, the three criteria that you need to focus on are known as the 3 I's. You'll need to focus on being able to prove the identity of the signer, the intent to sign, and the integrity of the signed information. So if we use this definition to identify a secure signature and we create a spectrum of electronic signature solutions, we can start looking at, first of all, the extremes here. We've all taken an image of our signature, and you can embed that into an email, you can embed that into a document. But using the 3 I's as the definition of secure, I think it's obvious to all of us that simply inserting an image into a document is not going to be considered very secure. On the other extreme, you have a digital signature as defined by the FIPS standard. That will guarantee the identity of the signer, the intent, and the integrity. But we can start plopping in other types of electronic signature into this spectrum. For example, we can all anonymously go into a website and click on an I agree button. If they don't know who you are, it's not very secure, and there's nothing they can do to follow up with you. To be clear, if we institute some controls and some procedures around that I agree button, then we can move that category all the way down the spectrum. A very obvious example is that when we all log into our financial institution, they know who we are, so if we then click on the I agree button, definitely that would be considered a secure electronic signature. The same is true of using an EPAD. When we go to the market and you scribble your name, you may scribble your wife's name. There is no way that they can prove that it was really you that signed that. However, if you go to a doctor's office and they use an electronic pad to capture your signature, and the procedures surrounding that call for them to look at your ID, maybe they take an image of your driver's license, then we could move that particular procedure further down the spectrum. The other type of electronic signature that is very secure and that most of you are pretty familiar with is what we're talking about today, Laserfiche or any other type of electronic content management system. I use ECM because the X can stand for document management, case management, records management, content management, and for the health departments in the audience, you can even include in this category electronic health records. These are all very secure systems. They provide a lot of features and functionality. Once you've logged in, it starts tracking your every move. It looks at every document you've opened, every document you've looked at, any document you've approved using the internal approval procedures. And then there's one more category that I want to include in the mix, and I'm going to include it right in the middle of this spectrum, and that's the electronic signature services. There's a couple of big players that you've probably all heard about. The reason I put them in the middle is that they don't issue unique signing certificates to every signer. The link between the signed document and the signer is an email address. So the way it works is if you want somebody to sign a document, you route it through their website to the receiver's email address. They open the email, they click on a link, they go, they view the document, and they say, I'm signing. For some purposes, this is a very useful tool. For regulated industries, the question you have to ask yourself is, not can I prove that they signed today, but 5 years from now, 15 years from now, is there any risk of deniability? Can somebody 15 years from now say, it wasn't me, I wasn't the one that opened the email, I wasn't the one that clicked yes on the link? So again, not to put a good or bad label on these any of these solutions. It is simply stating the facts. You and only you can decide what solution is appropriate for your environment. What I do want to do is add another dimension to this visual image, and that is the concept of portability. Regardless of how secure your signature is in a document management system, you can't send that signed record to an external party because there is no portability there. So if you need a requirement, or if you have a requirement to be able to send the document out to external parties and have them be able to view the document and audit the digital signature information directly in the document, then portability is going to point you in the direction of digital signatures. So why would you look at digital signatures? Well, if you're a regulated industry, if you're subject to audit, if you're subject to compliance, definitely you should consider digital signatures. If you need a technology that is non-proprietary, if you need a technology that you know will be around decades from now. Digital signature technology is based on public key infrastructure. It's been around for decades. It's the same technology that protects your website today, translated into electronic signature. If you need a solution that is cross-departmental, because digital signatures are supported by all the major authoring application vendors. It can be used by your engineering department as well as by your legal department as well as by your human resources department. And very importantly, the concept of being able to take that signed record and send it to anyone and have them be able to verify who signed and that nothing has changed. So with digital signature technology, once you move in that direction, you will be assured of being able to guarantee the 3 I's. In addition, the components of digital signature start with that digital signature certificate we mentioned earlier. Every signer is issued this unique signing certificate. When they go to sign, they should be asked to authenticate their identity. In our case, we offer integration to Active Directory for your internal signers, or at a minimum, a username and password. So once you've proven that it's really you who's going to sign, then what the system will do is it will create a unique algorithmic hash based on the contents of the particular document. It will sign the information with your unique private key, and all of this gets combined and embedded in the document itself, giving it portability so that you can send that document to anyone, anywhere, and they'll be able to validate who signed it and that nothing has changed. And the beautiful thing about digital signature is that it's non-proprietary. It's supported by Microsoft, it's supported by Adobe, both for the signing and for the verification. So you're not relying and you're not locked into a particular vendor for validation. The end result, of course, is a document that you can send to anyone and have it be fully trusted and verifiable. So, as we start moving down the path toward digital signature, the first decision that you have to make is what type of signing certificates you're going to use. Technically, there are 3 types, but we're going to take this first one off the table pretty quickly here. Any one of us can go into Microsoft or Adobe and create what's called a self-signed individual certificate. The problem with that is that I can create a certificate in the name of Katie Burke. I can create a certificate in the name of Barack Obama. Because when you create it yourself, you're providing the name and you're providing an email, and the email could be Hotmail or Yahoo or anything you want. So for regulated industries, a self-signed individual certificate is simply not going to be trusted by outside parties. In effect, they are not trusting the issuing certificate authority. But that leaves you 2 viable options. You can go to a third-party certificate authority, and there are dozens of these that would be happy to sell you certificates. These are the VeriSigns of the world, now owned by Symantec, Entrust, Comodo, GlobalSign. You can purchase your certificates from any of these certificate authorities, or, particularly for government, you can become your own certificate authority. That's what the cosign solution does. Every one of our customers becomes their own certificate authority. You can also do it with Microsoft Certificate Services yourself, if that's what you want to do. There are a number of advantages to this. The first and the foremost is what we refer to as centralized management. So let's take cosign out of the picture, folks. If you don't go with cosign, but you are using digital signatures, you go and you buy a bunch of certificates from an external third party, the first thing that your IT department has to do is install the certificates and or, at a minimum, the signing keys on every signer's PC. And if not directly on the PC, they have to install the signing key on something they carry around, a USB token or what's known as a smart card. We're all familiar with seeing the military use these cards for physical access, and they can also be used for digital signature. This is the traditional and the decentralized approach to digital signature deployment. But obviously this becomes cumbersome if you're talking about hundreds of signers, thousands of signers in the case of some of our customers. This would become very complicated. The certificates have to be renewed and reinstalled every year or every 2 years. And when somebody leaves, you have to make sure that you quickly uninstall those signing components, the certificate and the key. Otherwise, that person can continue to sign on behalf of the organization. This cumbersome approach is completely turned on its head with cosign. The certificates are created, stored, and managed inside a cosign appliance. it's called. It basically looks like a server, it acts like a server, it will be installed in your server room. But this appliance is designed for the creation and storage of these sensitive components. There's even a version of it that is certified for use with Department of Defense. The advantages of Cosign, number one, is that this device is pre-configured. It's plug and play. It takes 90 minutes to get it up and running, regardless of the number of signers that you have in the organization. The second advantage is that you can decide to purchase your own server and install it on premises, or now we offer a cloud version of the appliance. In addition, the on-premise solution only offers integration to Active Directory, so that for your internal signers, you can take advantage of what you already use to authenticate yourself on a daily basis. And for any external signers, if that's what you're looking at the solution for, the appliance comes with its own built-in directory, so you can add signers directly to the Cosign appliance. We've mentioned it before, and it's always worth mentioning again. The verification of signatures with Cosign, because it's a digital signature, is completely non-proprietary. And very importantly for the end users in the audience, you want some signing flexibility and functionality. So that's what we're going to look at next. When you sign with Cosign, you have the ability to create a signature anywhere you want on the document, or pre-embed a signature field in your standard documents. What you can include in that signature field includes your signature image, which could be any image. It could be an engineering stamp. It could be your official city or county seal. It could be initials. It could be any image that is securely stored and associated with your profile in the Cosign solution. You can include your organizational logo. You can include a name. You can include a title, a reason code, a date and timestamp in the format of your choice. For Microsoft only, not for PDF, our integration lets you do something called sectional signing, where you can say, I want this signature to protect this section up here, allowing somebody else to make comments or changes outside of the protected area. So this is useful for things like travel requests and expense reports and that kind of thing. We'll show you in the demonstration that's coming up here how we can sign documents inside of Laserfiche or any other document management system. And we also, for your information, provide you with what we call signature APIs. These are tools that allow you to add signing capability to any custom application or portals, because we're seeing a lot of our government customers moving towards self-hosted portals. For example, a vendor portal where the vendor comes in, they view a document, they sign it, workflow will kick it off for processing and approval. So you can think of Cosign as a signature engine that allows you to sign within authoring applications, within your own custom applications, or within portals that you create. What can you sign? The usual suspects, Microsoft and Adobe, those are obvious. The other way to think about it, guys, is that we can sign any cryptographic API compliant application. I know that's a mouthful, but cryptographic API is the way that digital signature is supported in applications. So, for example, your engineers that use AutoCAD or Bentley MicroStation, they can natively go in and sign those native format applications with a digital signature because those solutions are CAPI compliant. As a side note, many of our engineering customers will use another feature in Cosign that is basically, I refer to it as print to Cosign. You take anything, it could be an engineering diagram in AutoCAD, you print it to Cosign, the result will be a signed PDF, which you can now easily route around for review and additional approval. You can sign any printable output with this print to Cosign feature that I just mentioned. You can sign Laserfiche documents, and there is a nuance to that, so we'll show you that during the demonstration. And with our signature APIs, you can sign just about anything you can think of. TIFF is an interesting one because even though it's owned by Adobe, they haven't added the built-in native support for digital signatures, so you can sign it using our signature APIs. but then you also need to use our signature APIs for the validation. But there's a better way to handle this, and we'll show you that during the demonstration with Laserfiche. I'm not going to get into any of these specific line items, guys. I just wanted to give you a feel for the types of customers that Cosign has. We have federal courts, we have state court systems, we have cities, counties, agencies and departments at all levels using the product. So it's clearly been vetted and tested by other folks. I do want to talk a bit about the specific departments and use cases that gravitate towards digital signatures. Some of them are pretty obvious. I already mentioned engineering. Without Cosign, these departments were printing out those giant rolls of architectural plans and physically moving them around for review and approval. As I mentioned, now they simply print it to Cosign and they can route a PDF for review and approval. Courts, they're very often they're now using court case management systems. So again, in an effort to go paperless, they're going to get stymied if they don't figure out a way to add some kind of electronic or digital signature to that process. So that's another area. The legal department of any organization, of any city, of any county, you're constantly working with contracts and agreements, and you need signatures, both internal and from the other party. So digital signature is a good solution for that. We have one court customer that was concerned about hacking, so they purchased Cosign simply for a batch signing of every document that was going to go into deep archives, so that when somebody opens, for example, a judge's order 10 or 15 years from now, they would immediately be made aware if somebody had tampered with the records. I'm not going to go through the rest of these, folks, but I think you get the idea. The entire requisition to payment process, the entire onboarding process, expense reports, travel requests. We also contain a feature that we call point of service or point of sale, where you can actually capture an electronic signature from a constituent coming in to sign a license request or permit request, a privacy acknowledgement form in the case of patients, defendants in courts. If I have time here, I'll be gauging my time here in the next few minutes, and I'll try and slide that into the demonstration for you. Okay, hopefully you folks are asking questions as we're talking. We will try and leave time to do that. What I want to do now is give you a quick signing demonstration. We actually have thick and thin clients for signing. I'm going to be using, sorry, Katie, we're not ready for Laboon yet. I'm actually going to do the first part of the demo. Thank you. So what I'm going to do, folks, is show you how we sign with what I call the Cosign client. It gives you a lot of functionality. I'm not going to show you the thin client in the interest of time, but I do want you to know that there is a way to sign without having to install signing software. And then I'm going to transfer over to Laboon, who's going to show us a specific integration for the Laserfiche users in the audience. So if I want to sign a PDF, I basically point to the PDF and I select Sign with Cosign. And what this does is it renders this PDF inside of the Cosign solution. This happens to be a 4-page document, but if this were a 40 or 400-page document, the last thing you want to do is scroll through it trying to figure out where you're supposed to sign. So if you look up here in the top right, there's a signature panel. In this case, I only have one signature in the document, but this could be 20, 30, 40 signatures. You can name those signature fields. So in this case, I've named it Requester, and I can say, take me straight to that signature field, and that's what it does. In order to sign, I simply follow the double-click to sign instructions, and here I'm presented with the images associated with my signer profile, which could be an engineering stamp, a city seal, my initials, or my full signature, which is what I'm going to select here. I create a brand new reason code, and it will remember it for...
Mauricio, excuse me, I'm so sorry, but we aren't seeing the demonstration. Would it be best maybe to show your desktop here?
Sure, let me share.
Or perhaps Laboon's screen? Sorry, we're not seeing those hidden slides.
Okay, can you see me now, Katie?
Yep, we're loading your desktop. Here you are.
Okay, all right. Well, very quickly, guys, I'm going to close this out because I want to make sure that we go through those steps again. So let me close this out while I'm at it. Okay, so what I wanted to do was sign this PDF. And all I have here, guys, is for demo purposes, a folder with different types of applications that I want to sign. So if I want to sign a PDF, I select Sign with Cosign. This is the document that I told you about. It's a 4-page document. If I want to find where there's a pre-embedded signature field, I can see it right here on the top right. So I selected Requester. I selected Go to Signature. It takes me directly to the signature field. I double-click to sign. Here I'm presented with the various signature images that are associated with my signer profile. I can create a brand new reason code and it'll store it for my future use. I have it defaulted to always show my title. These are options. Once I'm prompted to sign, the system wants me to prove my identity. So I put in my case, I'm just using a simple password. Again, for internal staff, you'd probably want to take advantage of your Active Directory credentials, and you have your first signature in the document. This was a pre-embedded signature field. Obviously, you can also do ad hoc signing by selecting the sign icon at the top left corner. And by hitting that button, I can now create a signature field any size I want anywhere on the document. The signing is the same. And we have a second signature field. And you can tell these look a little different because even though I've set up defaults, I can go in at any time and tell a particular document or a particular signature field what information I want to present. Okay? I'm going to save this document because I do want to show you what it looks like when somebody's doing the verification process. I also defaulted where I saved it, and it happens to be to a signed document folder that I have here on my desktop. Here's the document I just signed. When I open it, we'll see what I referred to as the native support for digital signatures by Adobe. This message here at the top, folks, this is Adobe letting you know that this document, number 1, contains a digital signature, and number 2, has not been tampered with, therefore it's giving it a nice green check. If we go straight to the signature field, I can hover over either one of these signatures. It'll tell me that it's valid. If I drill down, it will provide more information. This was signed by Mauricio. If we drill down, we get more and more information. But what someone should be looking at, especially if it's a third party, an external person looking at the signature, they should be going directly to the certificate authority. Who issued this certificate to Mauricio Pinto? In my case, it was cosign. In your case, at the highest level, it is the city, the state, the agency. That becomes the certificate authority that is issuing the unique signing certificate to its employees or to external signers. Because at the end of the day, cosign supports both internal and external signers. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to everybody. This is how you sign a PDF. You can obviously have multiple signatures and continue to add. We've tested up to 1,000 signatures on a single PDF. Okay, I'm going to sign one more thing here quickly, and then I'll turn it over to Lebun because I want to make sure we cover the integration with Laserfiche. So when I open up an Office document, you'll notice that our integration is a little different than what you saw with PDF. Our integration with Office is evident with 2 new tabs on the ribbon. There's one called Cosign. There's one called Add-ins. They provide slightly different functionality, so I'm going to use the Add-ins tab. That's the one that I prefer. But what I wanted to show you here was this sectional signing capability that we provide. Here's an employee review. I've been reviewed, so if I want to sign it, I do so. And the signing is the same across all applications. So from a user training perspective, you can see that it's very easy to use the product. While I'm here, let me show you what it looks like when a change is made to the document. If I change this 4 to a 5 and we validate the signatures on the document, you'll see that the signature is invalidated. So this is normal behavior. Since I haven't saved it, I can undo it, go back to the signed state, validate, and everything's okay. But here's the part I wanted to show you. Sectional signing allows somebody to come in and do additional comments. In this case, let's assume my manager made some additional comments and then approved the entire evaluation form. And if we validate, in spite of what appears to be a significant change, the system tells us that it's okay. The reason is that we told the signature field on the left to only protect a certain section of the document here under scope. Instead of protecting the entire document, it's protecting section number 1, which is everything above a specific section break. And that is why anything below, any changes below that section are not invalidating the earlier signature. The signature on the right is protecting the entire document. So of course, if we make any kind of change to the document at this point, it will invalidate at a minimum the signature on the right. This functionality is also available for Excel, so it's something that finance departments find quite useful. Instead of sections, you can protect ranges of cells, you can protect worksheets, you can protect workbooks, etc. Okay, at this point, in the interest of time, Katie, if we can give control over to Leboon, I want to make sure that we show the integration to Laserfiche. And I'll set the stage for him, folks. For those of you that are already Laserfiche users, you'll know that you can store anything in Laserfiche. You can store Word documents, PDF, JPEGs, it doesn't really matter. But for some very good reasons, Laserfiche likes to store documents as TIFFs. So if that's what you've chosen to do and you want to sign a TIFF, the integration between Cosign and Laserfiche allows you to do that. Leboon?
All right, thanks, Mauricio. The Cosign connector for Laserfiche will install itself as a plugin into your Laserfiche clients. And once you have done that, you will get the 2 buttons here on the upper right-hand corner, one for configuration and one for signing. And as Mauricio has mentioned, Laserfiche uses TIFF documents a lot, and it is a great file format. However, when you're dealing with digital signatures, it is not as well supported, meaning there are no industry standards for embedding a digital signature into a TIFF document. As such, when you are using the Cosign connector for Laserfiche, what you do is you select the document you wish to sign, and you click on the Sign with Cosign button. What we do is that we convert the TIFF into a PDF, then allow you to apply the digital signature on the PDF itself. Right? So if I click OK, it's going to do the conversion and bring up the signing user interface automatically for the user. All right. So this looks just like any other PDF viewer or editor. You can scroll to the location you want to sign. In this case, I'll just click on the Sign button, draw a rectangular box like this. Cosign prompts me to confirm my signature. This is my hand signature. You can upload your own graphics. Optional, you can also include a reason code into your signature field as well as your job title. Okay, click Sign. Now Cosign is prompting me to confirm my password. This is an optional configuration for your end users. We do encourage that you let your user confirm their password before they place a digital signature for security reasons. Click OK. And now I have signed the PDF. Now all the user have to do now is to close the signing application and save the document back to Laserfiche. Just say yes, and what the Laserfiche would do next would be to check the signed PDF now back into the repository. It tells you that the document was signed successfully, and now I have a signed PDF inside my Laserfiche. I can double click on it. And on my right side, you can see that now I have I have 2 documents. The first version would be the PDF, and the second version, which is the signed. First version is the unsigned TIFF. Sorry. Second version would be the signed PDF. You see the green check mark here, and you can click on the signature field to get a summary of what was placed in the signature field. All right. And that concludes the demonstration for Cosign connector for Laserfiche. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, Leboon, but just before we leave, can you also show the template field associated with the signed document?
Yes, Mauricio, I forgot about that. The template field lets you determine whether a document has been signed or not. It is a special field that you can include as part of your metadata, digital signature. The default is set to no. If you look at my screen here, the default, you can set it to no, and when they are signed, our plugin will set it back to yes. That way, at a glance, you can see which are the documents that has digital signatures in them.
Thank you, Lei-Boon. And the other point worth mentioning here for the audience that uses Laserfiche is that in the process of converting a TIFF to a PDF and creating the new document, it will also copy over any templates, any metadata, so that it becomes a true version of the original unsigned TIFF. Thank you, Lei-Boon. So, Katie, that does conclude the cosign presentation.
All right, thank you very much. I know we're running short on time here, but we did want to take a couple minutes just to share how a customer is using both cosign and Laserfiche together. Just want to share a quick story from the County of Hawaii, specifically looking at the County of Hawaii's Office of the Corporation Counsel. When Corporation Counsel Lincoln Ishida took office, he noticed that the state of their information management was, in his words, slightly embarrassing. They had hallways that were lined with bankers' boxes full of documents, and it became really difficult for them to find and locate the documents that they needed to continue moving processes forward. So Ishida made it a goal to create a paperless office, and this led to the organization's purchase of Laserfiche to manage their information in a central repository. However, the organization was still forced to print documents anytime they needed a signature for approval, so they searched for a digital signature vendor to pair with Laserfiche to contribute to that goal of a paperless office. Now, their signature automation project had several goals. They wanted a solution that would help streamline business processes, especially for processes that involve multiple approvers and cross-departmental information sharing. They also wanted to ensure that all signatures were legally accepted and safe for use in the county's legal department, since that department would be the first user of the solution. And finally, since ECM was a critical component of the life cycle of the documents that were to be signed, the solution needed to integrate with Laserfiche. So they chose cosign integrated with Laserfiche as their solution. So now the Corporation Counsel uses digital signatures for all documents requiring signatures and approvals. This could be legal proceedings, letters to opposing attorneys, communications to clients, and all files sent to the federal court system. This has saved the county not only in paper, but also hours spent working and posted for mailing. Every employee in the legal department uses cosign, but for easy administration, all signing certificates, keys, and users are centrally managed. After seeing initial success, they've expanded their signature automation system, nearly quadrupling in size and looking to expand to liquor control and the prosecutor's office. But as noticed by Forrester in a recent WAVE report, signature automation is less about the action of adding a digital signature and more about reimagining the process to be more effective, and for the County of Hawaii, this has certainly been true. Perhaps the most notable impact the office has realized as a result of signature automation is the internal leave of absence process. When an employee is going to be out of the office, even if it's just for a couple hours, they're required to fill out a form, which is then approved by their supervisor and perhaps even up to the department head. While the office is small, they have about 30 people. These requests were being filed almost daily. And with the old process, an employee would print out the form, fill it out, wait for their supervisor to sign, and then get it signed by their manager and file the completed document. However, there were a couple problems that interfered with the effectiveness of this process. Oftentimes, it would be difficult to track down the supervisor to sign the form. They would forget to sign and need reminders, and then when someone was out sick, there was no way for them to have their leave of absence authorized because they were not in office. Well, now, an employee can fill out the form electronically and send it to the supervisor to sign digitally. The supervisor and/or department head are notified that they have a document awaiting signature. They sign the document, and it's stored in the repository with the appropriate retention schedule applied. The document is automatically routed into the employee's folder and into a subfolder that's named by year. This way, the employee is able to easily find and track their leaves of absence, which is particularly useful for checking balances of vacation and sick days. In the case that an employee is sick and unable to come into the office to fill out the necessary paperwork, their secretary is authorized to sign on their behalf. So all they have to do is call into the office. This means that no one forgets to file papers, no time is wasted tracking down signers, and business can continue even when someone is out of the office. So overall, the reimagining of this process has taken what used to be a three-day ordeal, and reduced it to less than 5 minutes. So to quickly wrap things up here, the rapid growth of digital signatures is not a fad or some social media spike that will soon be replaced by another cat video, but it's rather a vehicle that's reconstructing everyday business processes to ensure that time and money is better spent servicing citizens. Today we provided an introduction to signature automation so that you can eliminate the elephant in the room. You understand what a digital signature is, how it works with ECM, and the ways that it can be used. And while you're now equipped with an arsenal of signature automation knowledge, we've really only scratched the surface. So we'd like to welcome any questions that you have for clarification at this time. Let's see. We have a couple questions that have come in. One question from Melissa. She asks, does saving the digitally signed document as a PDF degrade the Laserfiche search performance? I think I can speak for everyone on that matter and say no, that does not have a major impact on the search performance of Laserfiche. Laserfiche can find the document whether it's signed and saved as a PDF or as a TIFF. Steve had a question about is the solution supported with Laserfiche Mobile? Mauricio, do you want to talk about the mobility aspect of CoSign a bit? Mauricio?
Yes, sorry, I was muting myself, Katie.
Oh, that's okay.
So, yes, thank you for the question. So, support for CoSign and mobile apps. We have today a what we call a CoSign web app that allows you to basically use any device as a browser to get to your documents and sign. It is not currently integrated specifically to Laserfiche Mobile. There are two areas that we're talking to Laserfiche about. That is one. The other is eForms. I noticed that there was a question about Laserfiche Forms. So you will see more coming out with regards to mobile capabilities in CoSign in the near future. Also in Q4, just for the audience's information, we're releasing an application that will allow you to receive emails on your smartphone, for example. When you go to view the document, you'll be given the option of viewing it with CoSign, which will, of course, then allow you to sign the document and email it back. So we're making some fast progress in that direction, and we should see some results here in the next 6 months.
Wonderful. Another question here from Kelly about CoSign. She's saying, how is CoSign used with people from outside of the organization when you need them to sign, for example, a contract?
Yes. So good question. Thank you, Kelly. So the easiest and most non-technical answer is that CoSign doesn't really care who you set up as a signer. Procedurally, there are some questions you need to think about if you're going to issue a certificate to Bob Smith at ABC Company. You want to make sure that Bob Smith is authorized to sign on behalf of ABC Company. But from a purely technical standpoint, you can set anybody up as a signer in CoSign. That's number one. The caveat to that is that a single appliance cannot be partitioned to use both an Active Directory authentication mechanism and a built-in directory authentication mechanism. So if you're going to have two different types of signing populations, we'll have to discuss your options, which is everybody on AD, everybody not on AD, or two different appliances, one for internal use and one for external use. Having said all of that, another way to answer the question is that another product that's coming out in the next few months is a product called CoSign Click that will allow you to actually email a document to somebody outside, have them click on a link, go to where they can view and sign the document. But we've also incorporated some what we call second factor authentication so that in addition to email, you'll be able to incorporate an additional factor to prove that that's really who you sent it to.
Wonderful. Another question, where do you keep a copy of the signature image?
That is all stored in the cosign appliance. So think of the cosign appliance as not just the signature engine, but the secure heart of the solution. That's where all of these sensitive components, including the images, are stored. And as I mentioned during my presentation, there is a version of the appliance that is Department of Defense certified, if any of you need that.
Wonderful. Let's see, another question here from Charlie. Says, I see where this is beneficial to our employees, but what about the thousands of clients that we have come in to sign documents? How does cosign handle in-person signing?
Yes, thank you, Katie. So there's a couple of ways. If it's truly in person, then I didn't get a chance to demonstrate the ability to, oh yes I did, the ability to capture the point of sale or point of service signature. So if it's truly point of service where they're right in front of you, then I would encourage the use of that functionality where you can capture their electronic signature and then seal the document with a digital signature. If the external parties are coming to your website to sign, and a very good example of that I think we can all relate to is the VA just purchased cosign, and they're going to have thousands, tens of thousands of veterans come into a portal, fill out their forms, and sign them directly. Then we make use of our signature APIs to sign the document on the portal and kick off a workflow to process it.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks, Mauricio. A question from Mark. He's asking about the difference between cosign and some of the large electronic signature vendors. What is cosign's differentiators he's asking about?
Sure, thank you. Again, it's apples and oranges, folks. Cosign is truly digital signature in that every signer is issued a unique signing certificate. So if that's what your requirements call for, then obviously please consider cosign. The electronic signature vendors are more of a transactional routing mechanism. When you want to send a lot of emails to an external party, and provide a link to a document. When you want to email the document to an external party, then that's a good mechanism because they provide excellent tracking, excellent routing, but you have to understand certain potential limitations. Number one, there is the risk of deniability because the only link is the email. Number two, you're having to route the documents through a third-party website. Number three, the verification of the signature is proprietary. Because they're not using individual certificates, you're relying on the electronic signature vendor to do the verification, so you will always be locked into them to verify the actual signature details, who signed, when they signed, why they signed. So all of this is nothing more than factors that you need to take into consideration as you're doing your due diligence on different solutions. Wonderful.
Next question is from Mark. He said, is the cosign appliance offered as a virtual machine?
No, Mark. Part of the security is actually using our physical box, so you need to use our appliance. But again, do keep in mind that we offer it in a hosted fashion, and that's what we call Cosign Cloud on our website.
Wonderful. Another question from Mark. How is Cosign licensed?
So you're actually buying, in the case of Cosign Central, the self-hosted solution, you're buying the appliance and you're buying signer licenses. The signer licenses are unlimited use and transferable. So your employees will come and go, your external signers will rotate, so you buy whatever number of licenses you need. Whatever the subtotal is for hardware and software, there's also an annual maintenance fee of 20% on top of that. Just to very quickly provide some pricing information, the Cosign appliance, the non-Department of Defense certified appliance, costs a flat $9,000. The licenses start at $140 per signer license, and then they decrease based on volume.
All right, and I know we just ran through a bunch of questions really quickly. We didn't have time to get to all of them, but we've provided here our contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions that we didn't get to today. We'll be happy to answer them. Another point that's come up, we will be sharing a recording of this webinar. We'll be sending it out within 48 hours of the live event so that you can share this with your colleagues. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, I'm happy to share that too. Just go ahead and send me an email and I'll send you a copy. I know we're out of time now, so I want to thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to hearing any follow-up questions from you. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.